Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ask Dr. Be Good podcast, where we shine a light on the positive things happening in public education. And sometimes we bring people from the outside in to share information with us that will make us better parents and better people. And so today we have back Mr. Byron Ricks. This is the second in a series of sessions that we're going to do on focusing on kids and from single-parent homes. But not only focusing on the children, but focusing on the adults and how the adults can sometimes have to change a little bit to make the parenting experience more positive for their child. So, Mr. Ricks, if you want to introduce yourself again, tell us a little bit about your book.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Good. My name is Byron Ricks, and I am the president and chair of Legacy Preparatory Charter. Been with them for about 8 years, close to 8 years now. And as you know, I'm one of the co-founders with you. Mm-hmm. And we started with 0 kids, and now we have over 1,400 on 2 campuses in Plano and Mesquite. And I'm very proud of the work that we've done there. I'm also an author of the book, Searching for Dad, 9 Side Effects of Growing Up Fatherless, and most importantly, How to Overcome Them. It is now an ebook on Amazon. It's no longer a paperback, but you can get it on Amazon, Amazon.com.
So last time we were together, you were talking about growing up without a father. Again, the 9 strategies from the book. And now we're delving a little bit deeper into different parts of the issues that surround single-parent families.
Yes.
One of the issues that you have spoken on before is how angry mama dramas hurt children, but more importantly, what to do differently.
Yeah, angry mama drama.
That's right. And so because you have human behavior training and you've grown up with that unique background that led you to writing the book, you are especially well versed to speak to us on helping our mothers of single-parent homes understand maybe the impact that their behavior has on the social emotional outcomes of their children.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about that for us?
Yes, absolutely. You know, I think I'll start with a story. And first of all, moms, when I say angry mama drama, it's not to offend you at all. But it was a catchy title for that chapter, and so we went with it. but it's real in that my story is my mom left my dad when I was 3 years old and moved to Chicago. And from 3 to 5, I did not see my father and had not seen him. And my father didn't know where we were. My mother didn't tell him. And so he did track us down. Took him a couple years. He tracked us down. And one day I was playing in the yard, in the front yard, and I saw this man looking at me across the street. And he looked familiar, but couldn't really place him. And I continued to play, but each time I looked up, he was looking at me. So finally he began to move toward me, and I was a little nervous, and I headed toward my door. And as I did that, he called my name. He said, "Byron." And when he said that, I recognized that voice. I knew it was familiar. And he said, "Byron, I'm your daddy, boy." And I lit up like a Christmas tree. I hadn't seen my father in 2 years. And I ran to him, and he picked me up. He whisked me up in his arms, and he held me close to his chest. And I could smell him as a man. And I felt so secure and safe, more than I had felt in 2 years. It was just a great feeling. It was euphoric. And then I heard my mother's voice say, "Put my son down." And I was holding on to him. I didn't want to let go. And he finally pushed me away and put me on the ground, and she said, "Come in this house." And I said, "No, this is Dad." She said, "Come in this house now." And I went in the house, and I looked out the window. It was a first floor window. And they were talking back and forth. And finally, she just told him to leave. And he left. And he waved bye to me. And as he was walking away, I was saddened. And my mother grabbed me and held me. And she assured me that everything was going to be okay. But I knew in my heart that it wasn't.
So what would you say are some of the top mistakes that mothers make, especially if they're angry at the man?
Well, I think that, let's back up a little bit, because one of the things that some mothers believe, is they can take care of their kids by themselves. Not all mothers, but when we talk about the angry mama drama, that tends to be one of the traits or characteristics, if you will, of that angry mama. I can do this by myself. I don't need this man in my life. I don't need this man to help me do this. But the fact of the matter is, your children do need him. And so it's important to understand that it takes two to make them. It takes two to bring them up.
So what are you asking mothers to do?
I'm asking mothers to consider the role that the father plays in the child's life. Consider the need the child has for the father. Consider the things that the father can do that moms can't do. You know, moms can't be dads and dads can't be moms. And so I think it's important that you understand that when you do not allow your son or your daughter to interact with his or her father, then you're denying them half of their heritage, you're denying them half of their culture, you're denying them half of who they are.
So I'm hearing that really that's one of the mistakes that moms make, is that they feel like they can be both to their children.
Yes,
Okay.
they feel like they can be both. And monetarily, they probably can. I know women, a friend of mine in New York, a friend of mine's daughter in New York, said, "I don't need this man. I make X dollars." She's in the C-suite. Lives in Manhattan. Yet, when our son began to act out, she remembered the conversation we had had about him needing his father, him wanting to see his father, and she's telling him that you don't need to see your father. Your father is this, your father is that. See, here's the deal you have to understand, is that when you speak disparagingly of the father, that just draws the kid closer to the father. And also it angers the kid, because if the father isn't in my life, I paint a picture of who he is. He becomes this picture that I paint, and that picture that I paint is not the picture that you're painting. And so what you're doing is painting over my picture of my father. You're disparaging the picture of my father that I have in my mind. What has to happen is you have to allow that kid to get to know his dad, her dad. And guess what will happen over time? They will see the true picture of who that parent is, and then they will respond accordingly.
I'm guessing that oftentimes children think of their father, as maybe a hero.
Oh yes, they think that he's a hero. They see him that way. You know, my daughter, my oldest daughter, is I adopted her. My wife that's by her first husband, and I adopted her. Yet she knew who her biological father is, and growing up, she had me in her life, but because she knew who her biological father was, she had painted this picture of him. Now, he wasn't a bad person, but he was a person that his lifestyle was not conducive to raising kids, you know, and yet she wanted to go. She needed to go be with him. She yearned to go be with him. And when she hit 14, we had to let her go. And she did go live with him, and she got to know him and got to know who he was.
How long did it last?
It lasted for 3 years. Okay, but it shouldn't have lasted that long. It was a part of her being stubborn and him being stubborn, and but when she came back, and where I'm going with this, to your point, she said to her mom, "He isn't what I thought he was." Now, she still loves him, you know, and I did nothing to hinder that, but she also began to have a much greater appreciation for me. And she had a great appreciation for me and her mom, because even though I knew her dad's lifestyle, he never paid child support, but I never threw that up. I never cast any aspersions at him at all. I allowed her to get to know her biological father. Now, he's no longer with us, but today my daughter and I are close as two peas in a pod. She calls me Dad, and you better not tell anybody that I'm not. And it's a funny thing, on Father's Day, she took me to dinner, and we reminisced, and I asked her, "What are some of your fondest memories of me? I'm just curious." And she said, "The day you adopted me."
At what age did you adopt her?
I adopted her at 32
Years old?
years old.
Oh, man, that's...
Now, I wanted to adopt her before, but her father was living, and he contested, and then we had to do, those attorneys and all that, and so I just didn't want to jump through those hoops.
That's a great story.
But when he passed away, I said, "Okay, I'm ready to adopt." And she said, "Okay," and we went for it. And I didn't think it meant that much to her, really. I mean, she never showed any enthusiasm like that, but at Father's Day, she said, "That was one of my most fondest memories, the day you adopted me." And she said, and the judge said, "This is your father. You are a family." You know, I'm like, wow.
So did they change your birth certificate? Because that's what they do, they erase names.
They changed, yeah, we chose not to change her birth certificate, but it's because of where she was in her age, and if she gets married, but everything else is legally.
Yeah. I adopted, and so I get a kick. My daughter was born in Durant, Oklahoma, and it's like I gave birth to her in Durant, Oklahoma. Which,
okay.
It's one of the jokes of the family. Okay, so I've heard two things so far. Moms think that they don't need Dad to help.
Right.
And number two is speaking poorly of Dad.
Yeah. Those are that's a no-no. Do not speak poorly of Dad. Allow the child to learn Dad for themselves. Now, you want to caution, this is, you got to caution your kid as it relates to safety. Again, I don't ever want a mom to allow your kid to be in a situation with their father if it's not safe. Okay? But outside of that, allow the kid to learn who their father is and who their father isn't.
So, are there any other big ones? Because these are pretty big.
I think, again, when understanding the need for the father is not, if one of the things that happens is if the father doesn't pay child support, then you don't let them see the dad. Well, I understand it. I appreciate how you feel, yet the courts don't even agree with that. If you cannot withhold a child legally from their father for not paying child support, you can go back to court, and have a court resolve that. And the father can go to court and say, "You're not giving me my visitation," and not paying child support is not a viable excuse for that. So it's not child support is something that you have to do independently with the father. Don't allow child support to be one of the
Deal breakers.
Deal breakers, if you will. Yeah. Don't make your kid a pawn based on child support.
That's so. What you're really asking is for a leap of maturity level in the part of mom to really go beyond her own feelings for the father and put the child's social emotional welfare first.
I couldn't have said it better. Exactly. Put the child first. You have to put the child first. And if you put the child first, that increases your chances of having a child that's emotionally and healthy, that's physically, psychologically healthy, and also one that may even build a relationship with a father. And that can't be bad. That has to be good.
Well, and on top of that, will turn out to be a better father, him or herself.
Exactly.
Oh, I shouldn't have said it that way. Wait. Will turn
Better-
out to be a better parent. If it's a female or male, yes.
Right.
Be a better parent themselves.
Right, because the male is the male sees how a father should act and behave, and sees the character of a father, and a female sees how a husband and one day their children's father should act and behave and see the character of a father.
Sure, because you often hear that a daughter will marry her father, and
Yeah.
what that means is she's marrying somebody who has traits like her father, whether good or bad.
Yes.
And so helping your kids see good parental behavior leads them to possibly picking partners,
Right.
Life partners who have good behavior traits.
The other side of that is for the boys. I learned about sex from a boy that was a year older than me. He knew more than I did. Thank goodness I didn't listen to him. So who becomes the role model if you don't allow the father? I'm talking about a father that wants to be in the child's life, okay? I was going to talk about my friend Michael down in Dallas who helps fathers see their sons, because it happens a lot. In fact, he may be a good guest at some point to talk about the advocacy he does with fathers, helping them with visitation rights for their sons. But where I'm going with this, then, if the father's not that person, who's going to be that person? It's going to be a peer, a teenage peer. It's going to be a gang member. It's going to be someone else. See, here's the deal. Someone is going to influence your son. Someone is going to influence your daughter. The question becomes who that person is. Now, I'm not saying if a father's in his life, they're still not going to be influenced. But I do know that if you have a father, you have a mother, and they are people of strong character, and you have an open door or an open ears, because what you want your son to be able to talk to somebody. And let me tell you this, I was not going to talk to my mother about sex.
Especially back then.
Back then. Now today may be a little different, I don't know, but not a lot.
Yeah. So what do you talk in the book about those well-meaning female friends who, females tend to, when they're angry, emotional, go talk to other friends.
Right.
And the friend tries to talk mom out of having the child see his dad.
Well, the friend means well. Mm-hmm. I believe. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Sure.
But what the friend does is remind you, the mom, of how the male, the dad, treated her. And so it's as though you're bringing him back in your life. They're not looking at the impact that the husband or the dad has on that child. They're oftentimes trying to protect their friend from being involved with this man again.
Mm-hmm. Making it an adult issue.
Right.
And putting the focus off the child.
Off the child.
So
again, I think sometimes they mean well.
Yeah.
I do. Sometimes they may not, but I think sometimes they mean well, and it just feeds into what that mom is already believing, And again, the other side of it too, they want to hurt the kid, the dad. They want to hurt the dad, you know. See, you don't hurt a dad that don't want to be involved with his kids, because he's not trying to be involved with his kids. He's not calling. He's not sending any money. He's not coming by, and there's no visitation. This is for those dads who are trying to be involved. They are trying to pay child support to the best of their abilities. They're picking up their kids, and so when you withhold that, you want to hurt the dad. And yes, you do hurt the dad, but you hurt the kid even more. You know what? When I was writing the book, a friend of mine, I met him in Chicago. I hadn't seen him. I grew up with him, and he said, "Talk to me about the book." And we'll call him George. And George had 1, 2, 3 kids, and he and his wife had separated, divorced, and he made pretty good money, and he took care of his kids financially for the most part, but he didn't live in the same city. He goes to the city, and he gets into an argument with his wife, ex-wife, and he was supposed to pick the kids up. He was going to take them to the Field Museum. It's just make an evening, a day for him. And she gets upset. Now his man is flown in to take his kids out. She gets upset and says they can't go. And now he's, instead of with his kids, he's there with me, sulking about it. But the kids were just devastated, just devastated. So she did more damage to the kids who were anticipating him coming, had planned it for months on end, and then the very day he's there, she doesn't let him go because she's angry with him.
Again, we're asking for the mother to be able to put that aside, possibly go to counseling to be able to put those feelings aside well enough to be able to think of the social emotional needs of her children first?
I think that, again, I believe in counseling, yes. And if you are a member of a church, I mean, we look at, one of the things we do counseling relative to church, we always think of premarital counseling. That's it. You don't ever hear of any other counseling, but they do have other counseling and counselors in church environments. And also, how about family counselors? I mean, because you have to get past that you are feeling. Because if the truth be known or be told, you are half responsible for the situation you're in. You're half responsible. And so you can't wholly take it out on the dad and or the kid.
Yeah, you have a statement that you gave me earlier. All your kids are equally yours. And so that's what you're speaking to, that all your kids are equally yours. They belong as much to dad as they do mom.
Well, that statement was, I made that statement for dads because dads have a tendency to be with a person, a wife or a girlfriend. They have a kid, and that relationship does not work out, and then they move on to another relationship and they have other kids. Well, if you have 2 kids by 2 different women, both those kids are equally yours, and both those kids deserve your attention and your love and your caring. Likewise with moms, and I've seen this, I've seen moms who have kids by different dads, and they have different behaviors toward the different dads based on how much they like or dislike that dad. That's how they will then treat that kid.
There's lots of psychology here,
Right.
Lots, but when we boil down to what do we need to pull away from this podcast, let me summarize what I think I heard you say, that we need to really caution moms to not take their anger out on the father to the point of keeping dads away from their kids. Right?
Yes.
Number
yes,
one.
to the point that it negatively impacts the kids.
And so don't speak poorly of dad in front of the kids.
No, that's a no-no.
Allow the child to learn about dad by being with dad.
Yes.
Otherwise, he or she builds up this hero worship.
Yes.
That usually is unrealistic, but that's all they've got.
That's all they have.
Yep. And then child support. This is huge. That was something that I learned from you. Child support can't be the reason you withhold the kids.
No. And again, the courts support that. If you have if the father has visitation rights, and you don't allow them that, they can go to court, and your defense of he didn't pay child support won't hold up.
I bet that's new information for a lot of our listeners. So we thank you for being here today. We're coming to the end of our session. I want to remind our families that we have a couple of more sessions with you in the future. We have one on, turning boys into productive men with character. Yeah. And then the next one, a father's role in developing character. So we look forward to hearing more information. This is a important opportunity for our families to learn from experts not only who have written about it, trained on it, but also lived it.
Lived it, absolutely.
So we thank you for being here. We look forward to sitting with you in these chairs in the future. And we thank all of our podcast listeners for being with us today.
Thank you for the invite.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ask Dr. Be Good show. For more information on Legacy Preparatory Charter Schools, visit our website, legacypca.com, or call 469-249-1099. And remember to like us on Facebook, where we stream live weekly Tuesdays at 3 p.m.